Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at MichaelDukesShow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Hello, my friends, and good morning to you. How are you? Are you ready? It's a snowy, cold, blustery day wherever you are today in the state of Alaska. Just another beautiful day here in paradise. Currently, winter storm warnings still in effect for up in the interior. We have heavy snow, additional accumulations up to 2 to 5 inches in the Fairbanks area until 7 a.m. tomorrow. So expecting more snow. Heavy snow in the Denali Borough as well, 3 to 6 inches there with some blowing snow. And then we've got a wind advisory for both the southeast Fairbanks census area, the upper Tanana Valley, 20 to 25 mile per hour with gusts up to 45. And that starts this afternoon until noon tomorrow. So it's going to get a little breezy up there. And then on the Kenai Peninsula as well, there's a wind advisory as well. This one in Seward and the Seward vicinity, and in Whittier from 1 p.m. this afternoon until 6 p.m. tomorrow. Wind gusts with 30 to 45 mile an hour winds, gusts up to 60. Wind chill readings dropping below zero to potentially 15 below by Friday morning, by Friday morning. So anyway, very cold winds, and they're saying cautious hypothermia, frostbite, don't go outside without all your clothes on, etc., etc., etc. So the coldest wind chills are going to be Friday morning through Saturday morning. This windstorm is going to be around for a hot minute. So anyway, current temperature is 21 degrees here on top of the world in Homer, Alaska, 14 degrees up in Anchorage. And I see that there's a lot of people who are out there, 13 degrees in Fairbanks. And I see there's a lot of people out there talking to me from their snow plows. People are already out and about plowing in the various parts of the state right now. So anyway, it's no wind in the valley yet, somebody said. It's a good day. All right. What do we got today? Well, I was hoping beyond hope that we would hear from. I was expecting that we would have Senator George Rauscher on today, but looks like that has kind of fallen apart. I had been waiting on confirmation, and it apparently didn't happen for today. So we'll see. We'll see if we can have him on next week. In our normal, I've been working with the Senate. I've been working with the Senate Minority Liaison, trying to get more senators on the program on Thursdays, early Thursday mornings, so that we can get a feel for what's happening down there in the legislature, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see what happens. But in hour 2 today, I know for sure, because I confirmed it yesterday, that we're going to be chatting with former Representative Ben Carpenter, who is going to come on with us. We're going to talk a little bit about the District 8 gubernatorial candidate forum that's coming up this Saturday. We're going to talk a little bit about the fundraising for the various candidates, and maybe the status of what's happening in the legislature. Now, some interesting things went on in the legislature yesterday, and I don't know quite. I was I was traveling back and forth to Soldotna yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to listen to all of it. But some definite things changed. Senate Resources yesterday. Senate Resources just completely changed the oil taxes in their committee, the new oil taxation plan, to a 17.5% gross value tax, while retaining the oil corporate and the property taxes, which is a significant, that's not the little bit that Brad talked about. That's a significant a jump in what's going on. And it's going to be interesting, to say the least. One of my little birdies in Juneau told me that Senator Bill Wielechowski, is pushing hard on this, and his that really his whole stated goal at this point is a state-run oil company, like they have in Norway, was discussed at length. And that, I mean, if you thought it was bad already, could you imagine having a state-run oil company at this point? But that's kind of the machinations that are happening behind the scenes to try and make something like this not just palatable, but feasible. And so it is, if you thought that they did a bad job handling your permanent fund dividend and everything else, just imagine if these guys had a state-run oil company. So there's going to be some dissection of the things that they've got in there. I'm sure Brad Keithley is just going like hog wild on this right now, trying to figure out what the implications are. He and I had a brief exchange last night after this was announced, and he's like, "Well, that's overreach right there." He said, he goes, "That's in poison pill range. That kind of gross value tax is in poison pill range, where basically it's going to poison the well." So anyway, I'm sure we'll have some further discussion on that on Tuesday. But that's just some of the things that are going on down there in Juneau. Out of sight, out of mind. We're not there to see it. We're not, it ought to be interesting. But the big story that caught my eye this morning was the headlines in the Anchorage Daily News. Anchorage school districts' proposed budget cuts encounter a wave of opposition. And this is right above the fold. This is at the top of the page here for the Anchorage Daily News. with a picture of a absolutely packed house. And all I can think about as I look at all this is, guys, this you knew this was coming. You knew that this was coming, and you knew that this was going to be a problem, because we've been talking about things like declining enrollment and lack of funding and everything else for years. And now we're getting to this point where they're like, no, it's inevitable. And except for the fact, of course, that nobody really knew. Now, in addition to that, and we're going to get into some of the details of this here in a minute, but in addition to that, the Anchorage School District put together a short list of schools now that they're going to close, or things that they're going to do in an attempt to close this $90 million shortfall that they have at the district. And we're finding out that, of course, some of this is like short notice. That there were some schools that had no idea that their school or their program was even on the list until they were before it was, it was even a consideration before the final list came out. And I'm starting to wonder, as I look at all the things that they're discussing, talking about cutting, as to whether or not this is, again, just another way to squeeze the pain point and enrage the citizenry this is again an artificially generated outrage. Not that the outrage itself is artificial, but that they're doing it in such a way, it's a strategic way to get people motivated to give the legislators, or not legislators rather, but the school board and the school district what they want. We're also going to talk about the new educational taxes that are being discussed by Senator Kathy Giessel, and more. That's all coming up. And then in hour two, again, we're going to be talking with Ben Carpenter for everything that's going on. And I guess we'll look a little bit deeper. Again, the APOC filings are still being dissected by some of the various talking heads. I myself have not gotten into them yet, but I suppose we probably will here coming into this next week, because it gives you a little bit of a better snapshot into who's supporting who and what's going to be done in the governor's race as well. Because remember, now we're at 17. Now we've got 17 people to decide as to who are we going to choose to put in the big chair. And you're going to be hearing a lot about those folks as we come into the summer and get ready for the big primary race in August on this as well. All right. Well, I think that's a good stopping point for this morning. Before we get down into it, we're going to start delving down into some of the things that are going to be done. I think we'll dissect this new potential education tax that Kathy Giessel and company have been putting together. We'll start there, and then we'll be back. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Luke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll continue right after this.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show, because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. We're in the break. Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? I said, Fat Ray said, I said good news. That all sounded awful. Because he was like, he heard me because of the headline. It talks about school cuts and things like that. And he said, oh, I see school closures in the title. Finally, some good news while I plow. He's like, that was all bad news. No, it is what it is, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's going on. Mexico and Venezuela had state-run oil companies as well. Yeah, if the state runs it, it's going to be screwed up. I mean, yeah, come on. Okay. Alaska is too corrupt and incompetent to run even a car wash. Oh, man. All right. And then Cindy's highlighting the governor's forum, which is going to be down here at the Soldotna Sports Complex on Saturday. So we'll see what comes out of that. All right. I'm scrolling through here. Good morning. Kevin McCabe just said, good morning, everyone. $500 million supplemental budget set to pass on Friday. You should all be very pissed off. I want to know more, Kevin. If you want to call in or if you want to jump in, Kevin, on your phone or whatever, and use the normal link there and tell us all about that. I'd love to hear about that in the second or last segment of this hour, if you want to, But I mean, I feel what Brian is saying right now. This is me this morning. I'll be honest with you. I'm exhausted. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I slept 5-6 hours last night, which is about my normal, but I'm just exhausted. I'm just exhausted about all this. Kevin McCabe, my pissed off emotional tank is out being repaired. That's about how I feel. I mean, I'm just out of gas on this stuff. Like one more thing, right? Good Lord. Did you see the vote on the PFD yesterday? No, I didn't. I didn't see the vote on the PFD yesterday, Miguel. What I was traveling a good chunk of the day. So what was happening? Tell me about that more. French toast recipes have no chance in this political environment. Yeah, I mean, Harold, yeah, if you want to start a show that does nothing but cooking stuff, you could go do that. Go start it. Enjoy. Kevin said I would have to get dressed. Only from the waist up, man. Just throw a shirt on. That's all I'm saying. Or you could call in. I mean, I got just call my cell phone, and I hooked it up this morning in anticipation, thinking maybe that's how Rauscher was going to call in. But anyway, let me know. Morning. First thing I hear is pissed off. Yeah. That's kind of where we're at this morning. Let's see. Good morning. Well, an election year, time to get in the loop again. Yeah, Ren. I mean, I think we should be in the loop every year. I think it shouldn't just be election year, national election year. I think we should probably be paying attention every year, Ren, to your local stuff, not just your national stuff as well. Oh, look at that. Boy, Kevin's already, he's Johnny on the spot, and he's even wearing clothes. All right. So we're going to jump into this with Kevin McCabe. See, this is how we're going to pivot. We call this the pivot. We're going to go from the school stuff to we'll get Kevin on here for just a second to talk about this. See my messenger. Apparently it's a messenger message. All right. We're going to get around to this. All right, here we go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the YouTube and Facebook stuff, and let's get to it. Here we go.
Today's recipe is the important Alaskan news of the day with a dash of sardonic smile, a pinch of eye twinkle, not that you can see that on the radio, and a touch of acidity. It goes down easier like that. Don't question our recipes. The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, we're continuing here this morning. I was just going to jump into this whole thing with the schools when our friend Representative Kevin McCabe said, "Good morning, everyone. $500 million supplemental budget is set to pass on Friday. You should all be very pissed off." And I said, "Well, Kevin, can you explain that to us? Because the last I heard it was $430 million. But what's happening with this?" So he has been kind enough to jump in real quick. This is the beauty of modern technology, because I got a permanent link, and if somebody that I know wants to jump in, they can just jump in, and I see him pop up. And here we go. Let's get to it. Let's bring Representative Kevin McCabe onto the program. We'll sidebar here for a minute and talk a little bit about what the heck is going on with this supplemental budget. Hey, Kevin, thanks for doing this in a short notice there.
Yeah, no worries, Michael. How are you?
Good. So, I mean, I heard that this was going to be a significant supplemental budget. I heard it was going to be pretty beefy. But last I heard it was about $400 million. Now you're saying it's going to be $500 million. What's going on? Give us the rundown here.
Yeah, so it's important, I think, first to understand what a supplemental is, right? This is all the stuff that we owe from last year, where we didn't have the money, we didn't budget for last year. This is firefighting, this is Typhoon Halong, the emergencies in Western Alaska. This is some of the stuff, in this case, the $70 million that the governor vetoed, which was the non-federal match for some construction projects. It's all those sorts of things. This is the largest supplemental budget ever in Alaska's history. And what ended up happening is a bunch of stuff for next year got stuffed into this supplemental budget because, of course, to fund this right now, we are going to have to go into the CBR, and that's what they're asking for. So the CBR requires a 3/4 vote, which means that we're going to have to vote somehow for it. And they're going to have to find a way to fund it. It's bigger because they put more stuff in it, frankly. There's $30 million worth of what they call headspace in there. So that's the just in case money. We're just going to put this $30 million into our wallet just in case we need it. And we're going to take it out of savings just in case we need it. Do you think we're not going to need it?
You don't pull the 30 bills out and say, "Well, I got it, I might as well spend it," right? I mean, that's the thing. And I guess what kills me on this idea is supplemental is supposed to be for things that we've already expended. How are they justifying putting things on for things that are coming in the coming year into a supplemental budget? I mean, how does that even work?
Well, and not only the supplemental budget, it's supposed to be a fast track supplemental, because I think the earliest we've ever done a supplemental before is March. So this is February. We're doing it specifically because the $70 million, that's the non-federal match for our DOT for highways, allows us to get $700 million, the federal lucre, as you call it, from the federal highways for construction projects next year. That's important. Our construction crews and companies depend on it. But they started a big campaign, unfortunately, much like the teachers did in years past. Not the teachers, I'm sorry, the NEA and education 4-letter people did last year or in the year before with the BSA. They started this big campaign, and what it ends up doing is putting us in a box. So now we have a whole bunch of contractors that are campaigning for this, what they call meet the match, right? So that they can plan for their construction season next year, so that they know that they have the money coming in for the projects that they have bid on, that the DOT has accepted their bids, and it is kind of complicated, but at the end of the day, we needed the $70 million. So inside the budget discussion yesterday, there were a number of minority amendments to try to cut this down to just what we needed for our contractors, just what we needed for the match, right?
Just the bare necessities that were, I mean, because this is again supposed to be a supplemental budget, right?
Yeah, fast track. It was supposed to be fast track. We just needed for the contractors and for the meet the match, but we want to put all the rest of this stuff in there as well. So we just need 70 million for the match, but we want to put another 430 or 424 million dollars into it, because we need that too. Will Stapp, he did an amazing job. He had a number of he had 7 or 8 amendments in there, and he was on fire. When he finally got up to speak with the very last amendment, where he said, okay, at the end of the day, you won't take this, you won't take this, you won't take this, you won't take this, but here it is. Here's the 70 million that you claim we need. We really don't, because of the STIP amendment that was put in by DOT, but here's the 70 million that you claim you need, and we will give you the CBR vote for this, but only this. So put your money where your mouth is, and he did a fabulous job. He really did, and you've seen him before on finance do the same sort of thing when it comes to money. So it was interesting. It's worth well, if you're a nerd like I am, I guess a government nerd, it's worth watching. So I'm frankly infuriated that we are this fast and loose with other people's money. At the end of the day, Frank Thomas, there's $12.3 billion in the ERA right now. And Frank Tomaszewski had an amendment to pay a full PFD as well, because that was something that was left out of last year's budget, or a good portion of it, right? And it was disheartening to see that only 12 people voted for the full PFD. I'm not criticizing anybody that didn't. There was some technical reasons not to use 2026 money to pay a 2027 dividend, and it was kind of late, and everybody was upset. So it's infuriating, frankly, that we would do this, and truthfully, it's the governor's budget. That's what they keep saying. They put a bunch of stuff into it as well, but it's the governor's amended supplemental budget, and it'll be up on Friday. There will be a CBR vote associated with it. Whether we get there or not, we may end up sending a budget that is not funded to the Senate, which will be interesting. That sets us up for another turducken, right?
Well, and this, let's roll this back for just a second, Kevin, because again, I'm trying to understand this. You mentioned the DOT STIP. You mentioned, how because the administration has said, look, this is not the crisis that everybody's saying it is, that we still have the monies, the monies are still coming in. The federal matches are still coming in. But as you pointed out, the contractors and the lobbies for the contracting and the building and the engineering firms, they figured out that if they can do an education style blitz and get everybody all worked up about it, they've got a much better chance of getting what they want and having that stability. What they're asking for is getting the money early so that they can, quote unquote, count on it. DOT has said, well, we don't really need to. I mean, another 2 months is not going to make a difference. We're still going to get the money. Can you explain to us what's this crunch crisis over this $70 million? I mean, that was coming, right? I mean, why does it have to be? I mean, we heard it early on in the session within the first couple of weeks. Even people like Lyman Hoffman were like, I don't think this is going to happen. This is a heavy lift. There's no way we're going to get this out of there. I mean, what is actually happening with this? Can you walk us through the details of it?
Yeah, so sure. The The DOT, you're exactly right. The DOT commissioner said very early on that they didn't really need the money. It wasn't this big bell ringing emergency, that he had enough money to cover it. He had enough money to cover the match, that the contractors could start planning. They could start ordering the equipment and the materials that they needed. So he had enough money to cover it until he said August, September-ish time period, that he would be good until then. Of course, everybody yesterday, all the Democrats that stood up and defended this huge monstrosity, said, well, no, it's 1 July. Well, it's not really 1 July. I mean, that's our fiscal year start, right? And the commissioner absolutely said he had enough money to carry us through and to provide this matching money for the federal funds and to get them encumbered to the contractors. But he also said, hey, as you get into this supplemental or even into next year's budget, he would need enough, he would need money in next year's budget to be able to cover this. So it's a timing issue again. Frankly, you and I have talked about this many times before. It's using time compression or using time as a weapon and creating an emergency where perhaps none existed, and using that to leverage funds out of the minority and out of the budget. So,
well, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, we're talking about if we really truly needed the $70 million, that would be one thing. Okay, let's just assume that we did. Let's just assume that he needed the money right now. How in the hell can we justify going from $70 million to $500 million in a time when we're already facing a fiscal crisis? We're already upside down. They've zeroed out the PFD. It's the only way we're showing any kind of surplus right now. And we're already facing, in the out years, we're already facing continual crises as well. How can we justify going from that much needed $70 million to now this Christmas tree of, we need the $500 million to get it out of the CBR? And they're going to tie it all together to force the vote on the minority and make the minority the bad guys if they don't vote for the whole thing now, because, we need that $70 million kernel. But we're going to add, 8 times that much money in there. And if you don't vote for it, you're the bad guy because you hate the people who want to use the roads. I mean, that's
Sure.
really what's going on, right?
Yeah, and it's a double lever, right? They're using that $70 million now, so that they've used the time compression to leverage the 70 million, and now they're using the 70 million to leverage every other Christmas present that they wanted to put in this budget. I mean, the misinformation and the mischaracterizations that were set on the floor by the Democrats yesterday is incredible. Our seniors are going to go without, our most important population segment's going to go without money. That's totally not true. There's you'll hear Will Stapp stand up and call out frankly the lies that were passed on the floor every single time. He is very, very smart. He keeps all this stuff like right in his head, and so it's an interesting debate if you want to see why our budgets continue to expand. And you can get into the budget off of Ledge Finance. It's /G budget, the supplemental, and you can see the $30 million headspace. You can see some of the things that were put in there that should be in the 2027 budget, and you can see some of the things that are not an emergency that don't need to be put in the supplemental.
Where's the parliamentarian saying that's not? Again, are we back to the single subject thing? I mean, shouldn't we be focusing on things that were paid for or are part of last year's budget? How are they forward funding things on this year's budget in a supplemental bill? I mean, that's right. Again, that's another thing that kind of blows my mind. I mean, this again, supplemental is supposed to be for the 2026 budget. That's what it's supposed to be for, which ends on January 30th. How are they going to shoehorn stuff in for the 2027 budget into the 2025-26 supplemental?
Right. One of the most ridiculous things I heard yesterday was, well, the fire season starts in April. So we have to fund this fire money. We're supposed to be funding fire money that we already spent in a supplemental that we spent for last year's fire season. We're not supposed to be forward funding. So we're kind of forward funding a fire season, right? I mean, it just some of the ridiculousness is just.
Oh, the machinations are amazing. And this $30 million headspace, Barbara just says, explain what you mean by $30 million headspace. They just threw in an additional $30 million just in case, right? That's what they say. Just in case we need it, let's round it up to a good even number, and we'll just add $30 million just in case we need it. That's what you mean by headspace, right?
Right. Just in case there's a fire on April 1st somewhere, forest fire that we need to fight, or just in case there's another typhoon on April 1st that we need to fund, forward fund. So we're forward funding with that headspace. We're forward funding typhoons and forest fires. So
and this interesting vote. Remind me again, Kevin, how many minority members are there again?
19.
And Frank Tomaszewski put up a proposal for a full PFD. And how many voted in favor of that amendment?
12, and one of them was Neil Foster, actually.
So we had 11 minority members out of 19 vote for a full PFD, and I'm sure there were technical reasons why it should. But again, man, I don't know how you do it. I really, really don't know how you do it, Kevin. That because at some point you just gotta. How do you just not burst into cursing on the floor? Like, how can you morons continue to do this kind of thing and not make it happen? I mean, this is madness, man. I mean, this is absolute. The house is on fire, and instead of putting it out, these bastards are running around with cans of Sterno and gasoline, just spraying it everywhere. That's what it feels like right now.
Yeah, it was a frustrating night for many of us last night, for sure. And we just need to be more responsible. We need to have. You keep in mind that the House Finance Committee passed this out of the Finance Committee on Monday. And then when they gave it to our offices on Tuesday, it was the wrong one. And they didn't realize it, they claim, until Wednesday morning, 30 minutes before the floor session was supposed to start. We got the budget.
Oh, of course, yeah. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Oh, that was our bad. Here's the new one, completely different. And you've got 30 minutes to look at it before we go ahead and open up the floor for discussion on. I mean, this is some bourgeois. That
was just BS.
I mean, I can just see this is what's going on right here, right? I mean, this is, again, time compression as a weapon. All this kind of stuff going on, adding more money, 5 times, 5, 6, 7 times what they need for this in this bill. This is, Kevin, this is madness. I mean, if you want to see the state go broke, this is what's going to happen. And this is why I'm firmly committed to believing at this point that there's no saving this state. We're going to have to hit the yogurt is going to have to hit the oscillating rotor for it to come up. It's just going to have to come apart because nobody's willing to make the hard choices.
Yeah, 100%. And nobody's willing to. Although if you watched the Democrats yesterday, there was I've heard Suzanne talk about this before. It's an amazing demonstration of caucus discipline. There were Democrats on there that actually agreed with our amendments and agreed that maybe we needed to be more responsible, but they all voted in lockstep. 21-19. Every one of Will Stapp's amendments failed 21-19. So we all voted for his amendments because we all understood. And he did, like I say, he did an admirable job of putting them together on the fly and having them done. It was awesome. And he started out saying, well, we really only need this much money for this fast track supplemental because the DOT has an amended STIP that just came out recently in the last couple of days. And had we taken the time to actually spend the time that we needed to on this budget, we would actually know that, so we could reduce what the DOT needs for the meet the match down to 12 or 13 million dollars. And oh, by the way, Flint Hills refinery settlement has come in. It goes into the SPAR funding, which is the pollution, the oil pollution funding, which has a cap on it. So anything above the cap is supposed to be used for DOT projects. So here's the money for the STIP federal match. I mean, he did his homework and had that all done and ready to go, and they rejected it out of hand.
Yeah. I have more questions, Kevin. Will you stick with me? I'm sorry.
Sure.
This is totally derailed what I was going to talk about, which is just fine because we got to know this kind of stuff, folks. We're gonna continue here. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free, thick, and radio. We're going to be back with more right after this. Kevin McCabe is our surprise guest. We'll return in just a moment right here, The Michael Duke Show.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Wow, I just totally blew past the break and everything else, and
sorry,
just dude, I'm just so friggin' pissed off right now. This is astonishing. Is this how they're going to run the railroad for this whole year? We're going to just go ahead. We're going to Christmas tree up and just stuff the supplemental budget up with stuff. We're zeroing out the PFD. We're going to do all this other kind of stuff. And if you don't, so I guess I don't want to get ahead of myself, Kevin, because I want to ask this question on the other side. But do they think this is going to get passed? Because a CPR vote requires a significant lift, right? It's 2/3 vote.
Yeah, no, it's 3/4 vote actually.
3/4 vote. Okay. So,
Yeah.
So what do they think this is going to get passed?
Yeah, I think that they think that there's enough in there to leverage our votes. I do. And, you'll hear, if you listen to the session, you'll hear the majority leader talk about, we're going to have a special session. He already said that. Here it is. It's February, and leadership and the majority is already talking about a special session.
Which we know during an election year is like that is the ultimate boogeyman on an election year, is a special session. So again, using time compression as a weapon, using the threat of a special session as a weapon, taking the needed things in a supplemental and doing everything just to add to it so that now they can strong arm the rest of them and leverage people into doing what they want. This is like the mafia type tactics all over again right in the public eye.
Right. Well, the levers of power, if you will, are on full display. They are on full display here for people that are watching. And frankly, I think that we are in this situation because we Republicans have not done a very good job of describing what's going on onto the public. It's just, I don't know, some of it's pretty incredible. I'm past the point of caring, frankly. If I get crapped on because I'm putting this out there, or we put out, Garrett Nelson and I put out an op-ed the other day in Suzanne Downing, in the Alaska story about moving the capital, and the people that were crapping all over us, we're the ones that have the bill that supports moving the capital. Garrett sponsored, he took it over from Rauscher. I'm a co-sponsor. We put out the facts for people, why it didn't happen, why it hasn't happened. And they're crapping all over us like it's our fault. Wait a minute. Let's look at it historically so we know how to vote correctly in elections to get the proper people in there to get this done, or to convince the rest of Alaskans how to get it done. And Nobody, it's the ostrich effect. I think everybody just has their head buried in the sand and they're not paying attention.
If people are pissed off because you're bringing this stuff up, I mean, Kevin, I don't have time. I mean, look, inside baseball here, just for those of you, because we're in the commercial break. I mean, my day yesterday was 14 hours. Okay. And during that time, I did the show, probably 3 hours for the 2-hour show, 3.5 hours for the 2-hour show. And then I have the rest of my day, right? So I'm not following absolutely everything. I was following what the Senate Resources Committee was doing because I was concerned about what was happening with the oil taxation. I didn't even know that this supplemental thing was going on, right? And I'm kind of in the know on a lot of things, right? I'm kind of keeping my finger. I didn't even know that this had happened. Okay. So if me, who was at least partially plugged into all this, didn't know, how is the average Alaskan supposed to be? If they're pissed that you brought this up and is sharing it with people, then I don't care. How else are we supposed to know about this?
Right. Yeah. It's my job, I guess. I remember some of Shower's rants on the radio, and I suspect that this little segment, these 2 segments or whatever we do here, is going to mean that I will not get any bills passed. I won't, no amendments. They're already not passed. But you know what? Alaskans need to understand.
Exactly.
This is why we are in the financial situation we are in. This exact thing.
And you know what else? First thing I do in the morning is I go and I read everything that I can read about what happened the day before. So in case I miss something, you know what wasn't mentioned today? The vote on the supplemental, the debate on the supplemental, the change in the Senate resources. I mean, it's a huge change. We're talking about taking it to a 17% taxation. That's a huge, none of that was mentioned.
Right.
So if you're just counting on the news media, they're not going to do it.
Right. Despite the fact that Senator Sullivan had a speech in the chambers yesterday at around noonish, and all the reporters were there, when it came time to talk about the supplemental and to debate the supplemental, crickets. Every one of them was gone. There wasn't a reporter to be seen.
No, they got the Sullivan speech, and that's all they cared about. And that's this is crazy. All right, we're going to jump back into it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Let's do it.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to shout and scream during this segment. I'm so agitated by what's going on, and I'm gonna repeat something that we're going over in the break, because Kevin said, look, if I take heat for bringing this up, and this is what just infuriated me. Kevin's concerned that he's going to take heat from his fellow legislators, majority, minority, for bringing this up and pointing this out and elucidating the facts. And I just made a point that yesterday I was working all day. I do the show, but I've also got a full-time gig. I run a business. And I missed the fact that they were talking about the supplemental. I knew we were in Senate Resources. I was following that, but I wasn't following the supplemental. But not a single news article has written about this since yesterday. So if they get mad at Kevin for bringing these facts up because the vote is tomorrow, then so be it. Piss on all of them, as far as I'm concerned, if they get mad about that, because how else are we supposed to know? Kevin, what's going to happen? I mean, what do you think's the threshold for the CBR vote is a high threshold, 3/4 vote. Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be on the floor in third reading on Friday. And, so they tried to move it to third reading yesterday and get us to vote on it. And of course, the minority objected. Possibly had there been a little bit more consideration given to some of our amendments, or to trimming the budget, or finding a path through this. But there's obviously a push in the majority caucus to not allow or accept any minority amendments. I mean, Mia Costello had a really great amendment just to establish this dashboard to accept the Fast 41 permitting. So it could go in here because it's a budget bill, and this amendment would fit in here. It was a great amendment. It didn't cost anything. It just said, because all of the federal authority, receipt authority, we call it, all appropriations in and out have to go through the legislature. We have to have an established receipt authority to get this federal permitting and federal monies for some of this early permitting in the Fast 41 program. It's a federal program. Really benign amendment, wasn't going to cost anything. They denied it. 21-19 just said, no, we want a clean bill. This should be its own bill. We should take the time to properly debate it. And we can't possibly put an amendment in our clean bill that spends $500 million of your money right now
on supposedly last year's expenditures. That's what a supplemental budget is supposed to be. A supplemental budget is basically backfilling the previous year's budget on things that got spent, unexpected things that came up that weren't covered under the budget. That's what a supplemental budget is. And instead, they're using it to forward fund things that they don't want in the regular budget for this year.
Right. And leverage, so that the $70 million meet the match discussion is the lever that they're going to use to leverage some of this stuff. So then we don't have to fund it in fiscal 27, right?
And it's interesting to me for you to say, because I've seen this, I've witnessed it, we've experienced it before. The majority is coming together, and their whole ploy is, we're not going to allow a single minority amendment to be heard or to pass. Doesn't matter how smart it is, doesn't matter how good it is. We are going to control the narrative one way or the other. And I think if that's the case, then so be it. It's on their heads. Now they're going to try and use time compression, and they're going to try and use the threat against the minorities to say, if you don't vote for this, essentially, I don't know if they're going to actually come out and say it, but the implication is, well, if you don't, then we're going to blame you for not, but they didn't want to vote for this $70 million. That's why the contractors that's why we're struggling. It's all their fault because they wouldn't vote for our Christmas treed, a multi-gazillion dollar supplemental budget, because only $70 million of it was really needed, but they wouldn't vote for it. So it's going to be their fault. That's going to be the leverage, right?
Right. 100%. And that, we're already feeling it. I was getting emails on the floor yesterday from some of those who represent the contractors trying to explain this or that or their positions. And at the end of the day, they put us in a box. And these are our friends. Contractors are friends of Republicans, right? In general, contractors are resource and transportation development people. I love those guys. I love the construction companies, and they're pragmatic blue collar workers, and they are what is developing our state right now. And
woe be unto the Republic when they figure out they can vote themselves largesse from the public treasury. That's what this is about. They may be good people, but they've been corrupted when they figured out that they can vote themselves money out of the treasury by applying pressure to the right pressure points.
Right.
Kevin McCabe, our guest, surprise guest. Thank you, Kevin, for coming on board. I appreciate it. Hold the line for just a second. Hour 2 dead ahead. This is not going to be good. The Michael Dukes Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. The one question I should have asked you right out of the gate, and I was so wound up that I forgot. What do you think, Kevin? Are they going to have the votes? Is the minority going to stand strong? What's going to happen here? Do you think that they're going to get the 3/4 vote that they need for this?
That's a good question. It just kind of depends. Like I said, there's incredible pressure from the contractors and and from ourselves. Once again, it's not just people calling us up and saying you must do this. We're putting it on ourselves. You say, well, I love these guys. They're Wes is sitting at Access. they'll help develop that. The Red Dog Mine Road, the DeLong Mountain Road. These are the people that build Alaska. These are our peeps. And how are we going to say no to them? Despite the fact that the DOT has said you're not really saying no to them because I have the money for it for now. And despite the fact that the DOT is saying, well, this amended STIP is not, I don't need 70 million. I could do it with 12 million. So, those things don't matter unless we can get our message out there and say, and sort of tell the truth, if you will, or at least expand the discussion. So.
Well, this was unexpected, Kevin. I appreciate you coming on. And maybe this is what we need to do. Maybe we just need to, pass out the studio link to every minority member in both caucuses. And if something like this comes up where we don't hear about it, I mean, Frank mentioned in the chat room earlier about a permanent fund vote. And I'm like, what PFD vote? I didn't hear anything about Again, it's not that I'm not connected or trying to be plugged in. It's just I can't follow every committee at every moment. I didn't even know it was going on. So maybe that's what we need, where you guys can just dial us up and say, oh, hey, I just wanted to poke my head in here and mention this, because that's the only way we're going to get this information out there, because the news media is not passing it out.
Right.
Not everybody's on the press release list from the minorities or the majority. I mean, how are Alaskans supposed to know what's going on?
Yeah, that's one of the things I've written about that before. You've seen my Substack. The fourth estate, the news media has failed us, has failed Alaska. It's failed America, frankly. They are not doing their job, which is to hold us accountable, but to report things honestly, balanced reporting. Just put the facts out there and let Americans decide. You don't have to have an agenda. You don't have to have editorialized. Just put the facts out there. The Edward R. Murrow or Huntley Brinkley or Walter Cronkite, although Cronkite had a famous eyebrow that people watched when he was saying the news. But the point is those are the people that should be in there. They should have been in there the whole time watching, and maybe they were watching on Gavel to Gavel. I don't know, but certainly no reporting came out this morning about any of it, which is
no, not a thing. I mean, where are the Juneau reporters? Where are the legislative reporters that they used to be? I mean, used to be you pick up the ADN or whatever, and you had the Juneau reporter that would give you the synopsis of everything that happened the day before. Where is that? It's nowhere.
They're certainly willing to come in the committee hearings about not masking ICE enforcement officers or about gutting Ada. They're certainly willing to come in on those issues and take pictures and write stories, but on spending Alaskans' money, they don't seem to care.
Well, Kevin, that link is always hot. So if you get something else that comes in, feel free to drop into the conversation. And again, I got Ben on. Let me bring Ben on the stage here too. Ben, good morning, Ben. How are you?
Good morning.
Boy, what we need to do is we need to pull like a three-way, convert. You want to burn the barn down. This is the way to do it with a three-way.
I bet Ben was watching that yesterday.
Yeah,
I'm kind of reading the room here, and what I'd planned on talking about is kind of.
I think, hey, I just threw out my entire first hour, Ben. I threw out my entire first hour of discussion. But maybe we should do that. Maybe we should bring on, maybe we need to get 2 or 3 other minority legislators in here so that we can get some truth out there, because again, we're not getting any of this stuff, man. We'll hear about it 2 days from now. Somebody in the paper will report it after it's happened. And we really need to bring that on. But Kevin, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on and joining us and bringing this to our attention today. Thank you for being part of it.
You bet. I love the hat, Ben.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you, Kevin.
All right, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate you. Yeah, Ben. I know we had some other things we were going to talk about, but maybe we should start off with this, because I mean, this is this is madness, Ben. This is absolute. I mean, I want to kick somebody in the chest and knock him into the well and scream, "This is Alaska." What is going on?
It is like I said before, it is like TV show Survivor meets junior high with no adult supervision. It is
It
an
is
anomaly in adult life.
Well, and I have come to the absolute radical conclusion that we're not going to be able to fix this, guys. There's just no way. The wheels have got to come off this bus, because there's no way that any of these people are gonna slow down and fix it. They don't even care.
The sign that that maybe we've got the people around in the state of Alaska to care would be if snowbirds stopped moving south for a year or two. That would tell me that some people have altered their plans and are doing something different, right? And I'm just work with me here for a second, right? We need better people to be participating in this political process in the state of Alaska. Period. Full
End
stop.
of story. Full stop. That's it right there. All right. The Michael Duke Show continues. Ben Carpenter's our guest. Up next.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Hey there, hi there, ho there. Welcome back to the program. Hour 2 of the big radio show for Thursday. Big winter storm in Fairbanks, windstorm in Fairbanks and up over Seward as well. So I got that out of the way. Just pay attention. It's going to be cold and windy and snowy up in the interior, and windy down in the Kenai up near Seward and Girdwood, those areas. Welcome back to hour 2 of the program. In the last hour, we had a surprise guest. Kevin McCabe joined us to talk a little bit about this supplemental budget discussion that happened yesterday that I was not even aware of. Again, I guess you can only pay attention to so much. I was paying attention to Senate resources instead of anyway. It just blew the whole show apart this morning because I was not expecting to get into that. But it's convinced me of one thing, and that is nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. When I look at the strong arming and everything else that's going around, nothing is going to change right now. I don't even know. Tear up the charter of changes, because none of that stuff matters at this point. None of that stuff matters. Now, Ben Carpenter, former representative and now the host of Oversight Live, is joining us this morning for his regular Thursday slot. We've had Ben on now for the Thursday slots, and I wanted to talk with him. We had some other things we're going to talk about, but we've got to start here. I mean, because this is some crazy stuff. Ben Carpenter joins us right now. Hey, Ben, how you doing?
Good morning, Michael. Good to be with you again.
Yep, thanks for coming on board. So Ben, you just heard the last 40 minutes of discussion with Kevin McCabe. We've got a supplemental budget, and for those of you who don't understand what a supplemental budget is, it basically is used on a year-to-year basis to backfill the previous year. So you've got the year that you're in that you had already budgeted for stuff, but some unexpected expenses come up, wildfires, typhoons, something that wasn't budgeted for. And so you pass a supplemental budget that basically backfills the current year before you start working on the next year's budget, which is the legislator's major job, is to work on next year's budget. But you use the supplemental to backfill the things that you missed or unexpected expenses or anything else. So we've got this $70 million push for this construction match for roads and constructions and things like that. Now, they've made much ado about nothing because really even the $70 million is not needed. According to DOT says we got money till September, October. We're okay. We can do it. Just make sure you put money in next year's budget. We'll handle it. But no. The lobbies for the construction industries have saw what happened with the education stuff. They figured out, oh, there's some pressure points there we could push. We could guarantee that money. We maybe could get some little more. And so they put on the full court press from day one of this session to get that supplemental. Oh, we need that 70 million. We need it now. And so they've taken and they've bastardized the supplemental process because not only did they put the $70 million, which really wasn't even needed, not only did they put the $70 million, they added 7-8 times that much. And the budget that was on the floor yesterday that Kevin was just talking about, $500 million, $500 million in supplemental, and a lot of it is not even for last year. It's for coming expenses, which by the rule should be going into the regular budget. So Ben, sorry, I'm a little wound up here, but give me your thoughts as you look at all it. What's going on?
Excuse me. Some of this concept of a supplemental is also just practically speaking, if you have more revenue than you expected and now you want to spend it for the current year. But that's not the case because they're tapping into the savings account. So that's not even a legitimate excuse, right? No. And we saw a little bit of this attitude in Sullivan's speech, and God bless him. He's doing yeoman's work, bringing money to Alaska. But Alaskans are expecting that. And here, this is the case here with this infrastructure money, road money. It's federal match money. It is we want to take advantage and we don't want to lose the federal dollars that are coming to us. So you must pass more money in the current year's state budget that you didn't earlier to get that federal match. That's driving this, right? We don't want to lose that federal dollars.
Right. The free federal money for the free
federal money. And 25% of that, 25% of it is financed debt to future generations. We don't care. We're like, give us our money. And this is the quintessential problem that Alaska faces. We call it a resource curse, but it's not just that. It's lack of vision or lack of vision is the best thing I can explain it. We just look to the federal government to say, we need you. And this is what at statehood, other states representatives in Congress are like, I don't know that we really want Alaska to become a state because it's going to cost us. Like we're going to have to support them. We're going to subsidize. They can't stand on their own. 2025, 2026 budgets are proving them right. Like the people in Alaska are demanding our representatives bring more money. And when the federal government gives it, we're like, we got to have it. We got to have it. We got to spend our own money to get that money. Why? Because the people who are lobbying, their business interests rely in some cases solely upon government contracts in order to put food on their table.
It's a dependency state. That's what we talked about. Yeah. I mean, we've created a dependency state. I mean, we have on the one hand of the spectrum, if you're looking at it from a spectrum of dependency and need, on the one hand, we've got 1/3. Let me say that again. We've got 1/3 of the state on Medicaid. Okay, and medical and free government health care and everything else, plus Section 8 housing, plus SNAP, plus 1/3. And on the other side, we've got a huge chunk of businesses who've built their entire business model around government contracts and government spending. Where the vast majority of everything that they do is tied to the government. They have no ties to the private construction or private contracting or private anything else. It's all about what the government can spend. So we've got this vast, broad spread of dependency. And in the middle are all the people who don't get to participate in any of that. And that part of the spectrum, that group of people, it's shrinking. That's where the outflow in Alaska is coming from, is from the middle class, working age Alaskans who are like, I can't do this anymore. I don't qualify for the social safety welfare on the one side. I don't have the government contracts on the other side. I'm just working a regular job, and I just can't afford it anymore.
It's a question of vision, and those that are down in Juneau, especially those that have been there for decades, this is what they know. The government economy is the economy in Juneau. It is what matters to budget decisions. It is the thing that they do. Decisions that would grow a private economy in Alaska aren't a factor in Juneau. They just aren't. I mean, you've got Wilikowski's statements and his desire for a state-run oil company. As an example, you've got state party Democrats years ago asked Biden to help get rid of the oil industry in the state of Alaska, right? I mean, government-run economy is exactly what less than half of the members' political party in the state legislature want to see happen, right? That's get rid of oil and just rely on federal dollars and permanent fund earnings. That would be their utopia.
Yeah,
and that's the direction that I think we're headed if we don't wisen up. What could we do? Like, this is a recognition of the problem. So often I hear, hey, Ben, that's great. You recognize the problem. What's the solution? There's one thing that the state legislature and Alaskans could do, and that is lower the cost of energy, lower the cost of electricity. So if you're going to invest any dollars in capital right now, it would be to overproduce cheap electricity in the state of Alaska. Get started now. If it's going to take 10 years to build a dam, hydroelectric, to get low-cost energy, then get started. You want another coal plant? We got plenty of coal. You want to reduce the cost of electricity in the state of Alaska that will allow business interests to capitalize on low-cost energy for mineral, not production, not digging it out of the ground, but doing something with it. Value added in the production chain, right? We can't do that in the state of Alaska because our energy costs are prohibitively expensive. You've got oil coming out of the ground, out of taps. We put it in boats and we ship it away because it's too costly for us to do anything with. Lower the cost of electricity, and these other things, you could have you could see a petrochemical industry start because you've got lower cost electricity. You know, we hear in the news, and Sullivan was talking about this last night or yesterday in his speech, that the military wants to see data centers show up on military bases. Okay. Well, they can't do that on our grid, on our electrical grid. They can't do it. Data centers are like gigawatt demand for electricity. You want data centers? Alaska makes a lot of sense in many ways for having data centers, but they have to have electricity. This natural gas pipeline can produce lower cost electricity if it gets built. But that shouldn't be the only thing that we have. Don't rely just on that.
Right.
We've got many sites in Alaska that could be developed into hydroelectric dams to produce low-cost electricity. The state government, the seat of our state government in Juneau, benefits from that. They've got their low-cost electricity from a hydroelectric dam in Juneau.
Right.
The road system, we're paying high prices because we've just lacked vision.
Right. No, we've been unwilling to put into those things and do it. I mean, whether it was, the Susitna or these micro dams or anything else, we just refuse to look at these opportunities to do it. And Jeremy Bynum's in the chat room. He just said, the contractors are building and fixing the roads and bridges we use. There's no private economy without transportation. But Jeremy, you can't tell me that you don't have whole contractors who built their entire business model around this. And it doesn't have to be contractors. We could be talking about telecoms and GCI. Look at what's happening there. Look at what we could be doing there. But they're so dependent on those $100 million contracts instead of looking at newer technology or changing. They don't do it. Or we could look at the medical community and the medical establishment where they've become dependent on the Medicaid spending or the governmental supplements to the spending that they don't want to see any changes. All these industries that are so dependent on the government largesse, either from state or federal spending, that they just don't want the gravy train to end. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. And we've got, as Sullivan said yesterday, we've got a $1 billion+ over 5 years coming into our healthcare industry that is going to grow the infrastructure, if you will, the healthcare industry. It's going to grow it, and then the underlying economy will not be grown. There's no additional people that move in. There's no economic engine to support that growth. It was all built on federal dollars flowing in from federal taxes and from debt, and that's going to hurt us in 5 years. People are going to be like, oh, now we've got this and we have to increase state spending to be able to support this in some cases.
Yeah. What happens when that money ends? And this is the typical problem that we talk about in government, where we create a program with free federal money, quote unquote, free federal money. And I've said this many times, the Medicaid thing under Walker was the latest issue of that. I said, okay, great. You've created this program with this free federal money. What happens when the federal money runs out? Oh, well, we'll just pare back. You're never going to pare back the program because you've created the program. You've created a constituency. Your funding mechanism runs out, and then you're left on the hook. That's exactly what's going to happen with this $270 million a year that we're getting for this new rural healthcare thing, is that they'll build up some kind of infrastructure. They'll build something up, use all this one-time funding to create an ongoing funding need that will then become our burden in 5 years.
We need low-cost energy. You gotta look at what's the alternative, right? The alternative to looking to the federal government and to state government for our business models, right? I mean, some of us are going to be like, hey, you know what? We're okay with privatizing road maintenance. We don't want to see a larger DOT. We don't want to see a larger borough road department. We like the privatization of the road maintenance, okay? Road building. We don't want government employees to come out here and build the road. We like having the contractors come build the road. Okay. The problem is you don't have the economy to support that. It's not being supported by an economy. You don't have a broad-based tax. If the economy grew, you're not collecting money from it. Okay. The only place we're collecting money from is oil growth, oil economy growth, and permanent fund earnings. A smidgen from the non-oil economy, but it's de minimis to the overall picture, right? So what you've got to do is create an alternative. This is why building roads and low-cost electricity is what's necessary for things to occur in the private economy to give people an alternative to just looking for government money. You've got to reduce those barriers. You got to eliminate the hurdle, the giant hurdle that high-cost energy is. And there's no reason that the state of Alaska should have the highest cost of electricity in the nation. There's no reason for it. We are so rich with energy here, and yet we pay through the nose on electricity. It is mind-boggling that we have allowed ourselves to get to this position.
Ben Carpenter is our guest, former representative, now the host of Oversight Live, which is available on YouTube. Every night at 7, he goes live with some discussions of the news of the day, what happened in the legislature, his insights and thoughts. You can find it at youtube.com/@OversightLive, the @ symbol. youtube.com/@OversightLive. We're back with more in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, Ben Carpenter is our guest. Let me get the timer up there so everybody can see where we're at. Ben, Jeremy's right. Infrastructure is an important part of what's going on, but to create whole businesses that are so dependent on government spending that they can't respond to the needs of the private economy, that's part of the problem. That is a huge part of this problem, is that they've become so dependent that, they're doing things like this. They're coming together and creating this chicken little sky is falling thing. So you got to do something now, which just emboldens the politicians to even add more to it. So instead of just the 70 million, now we're up to $500 million. This is just symptomatic of the problem overall.
I don't point the finger at the business owner necessarily, right? Because they're filling a need that has been placed there for quite a while. I'm not pointing the finger at them. What I'm pointing the finger is the system, right? Because the business owner buys equipment. They buy a road grader. They buy whatever's necessary for horizontal construction or vertical construction. They invest in that equipment to go do the job. Okay. If the state doesn't have a job for them, who does? What other entity, what other business in the economy would hire somebody with a road grader to do work, right? They would have to invest in something else that the economy will support. So this is the point that I'm getting at, is the economy has to grow in order for those business owners to have an alternative to looking for state and federal money. Okay. So what is the thing that is going to cause us to be able to grow entrepreneurs to work? It's low cost energy. 100% it's low cost energy. It's not the only thing that matters, but it's certainly not, we need more government programs and then we'll see entrepreneurs work. No, it's low cost energy. Reduce the cost of electricity and you will see opportunity happen in the state of Alaska. People will be able to take advantage of the opportunities that exist there. But that has to happen in order for people to wean themselves from the federal government, from the state spending. Like, it's the system itself. It's a systemic problem. It's a structural problem. So how do you break it? You got to do something different to cause there to be an outlet or another alternative, right?
Yeah.
We're taking a bunch of federal dollars and we're building a port in Nome. And on my show last night, somebody had asked, why do we need that? Like, well, it's costly to get goods all the way around North America, right? So now you've got a port in Nome. You put a road into Nome, and now you can offload goods in Seward or Whittier and truck them up to Nome and put them on a boat up there. It reduces the time necessary to get all the way around the state of Alaska and the risk that exists when you get up to the ice pack, right? I'm speaking very fundamentally here and very in layman's terms, but it's giving opportunity for a economic activity to happen. Somebody's going to have to truck that stuff up there. Yes, it's relying on federal dollars, but it's opportunity. Roads, a port, infrastructure provides that opportunity.
Well, things we were all promised as statehood, right? That really never materialized. So again, I'm not against receiving some of those federal dollars as far as the infrastructure and everything else, but we also need to do it realistically. We shouldn't be borrowing 25% of all the monies that we're getting from the federal government, which is what we're doing right now. I mean, there's just so many things. Somebody just asked in the chat room, what is the solution then for the affordable energy? What do we do for it? Is it, again, opening the coal plants back up? Is it hydro? Is it nuclear, micronuclear? What, and what's the state's responsibility in that, Ben? I don't have enough time for you to answer this now. There's only 20 seconds, but I mean, maybe I'll ask that on the other side, just because I think that's a good question. What do we need to be looking at? Because I agree, affordable energy is the cornerstone of civilization. That's how economies expand. That's how the free market and enterprises work, is through that cheap, affordable energy. And we need to, that's what sparked the Industrial Revolution. Let's get to it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Let's do this thing.
The Michael Duke Show. Seriously humorous with a pinch of intellect. Sorry. That is humorous. Here's Michael Dukes.
Continuing now, Ben Carpenter, our guest, former representative and the host of Oversight Live, which you can find on YouTube. You should go over there and subscribe right now. youtube.com/@OversightLive, the @ symbol, and get on board there. Ben, I was just asking the question because a couple of people in the chat room have asked the question. You're talking about affordable energy. Now, we could argue what government's responsibility is in that, but basically it should be, in my opinion, getting out of the way of allowing affordable energy to be put forward. That would be the biggest thing that they could probably do. But what is your solution for affordable energy in the state of Alaska in your mind? I mean, and is it a government responsibility to create, to design, or just to get out of the way? What is your thoughts here?
Yeah. So affordable energy to me is, if we're going to start today, it's with technology that's proven and that we know works, and that is turnkey, right? So it is hydro dams, it is coal plants. Those are things that we know work and that we can move in a direction now. And then what is the government's responsibility, both state and federal, is to get permitting down to the bare minimum necessary to make sure that we have a project that is sustainable and deals with the environment appropriately, right? That's the thing that we need. Now, you've got other technologies that are coming on board that may make those types of things obsolete if they're more cost effective and better over the long run. And this micronuclear concept might be that, but it's not turnkey right now. You can't just plop a micronuclear plant down because it's not ready. It's not ready. Now, part of that's government regulation, I think, of stretching this out, but it's not ready. But if it becomes ready, then it becomes more, and this is the thing we have to recognize. The amount of electricity that we have right now is not what we're going to need in the future. So if we're looking to invest in some kind of technology, we need to be thinking about overproducing the amount of electricity that's necessary. Okay, you build more than what you actually need, and then there's excess capacity for economic activity to happen. So,
right, you need expandable capacity of dispatchable power because, again, you start talking about things like data centers or AI centers or things like that. I mean, that is in the gigawatts of power. Or if you're just doing regular things, you have to have the ability to expand because the time frame of expanding current production is so long, you have to have a built-in buffer of additional power available, because otherwise you're talking about a 10 or 20-year cycle to get more power online. And that just does nothing but stagnate and strangle any kind of potential expansion.
Yeah. So how do you go about it? Because if you're going to say, hey, you know what, the state of Alaska is asking for private enterprise to come up here and build us more energy. And then the private enterprise says, well, if I do that, if I invest my dollars, who am I going to sell it to? Like, who is it that's going to buy it? Okay. Well, that might not be apparently clear right now. And they might have to take a leap of faith that they're not going to take. Okay. This is the concept that AGDC has been working on with regard to a natural gas pipeline. Years have gone by of the permitting and the state expense at moving the project along without any evidence that we've got the sellers and the buyers of the natural gas at the table and in agreement, right? It is a vision statement that says we're going to spend state money to further this project to the point where we can hand it off to a private enterprise. Now, that's not exactly what the intention of Senate Bill 138 was, what authorized AGDC. It was more of a state run, or at least partially run entity that private industry didn't want to see. The point that I'm getting at is using it as a model that says, if we want to build low cost electricity, then somebody, the state, is going to have to say, hey, these are our options. This is what we can do. Here's the permitting that needs to get started. And now we need to go find the people, the companies that want to come do business in Alaska, that capitalize on the capital, on the opportunities, mining, oil, if we had low cost electricity. What are the hurdles to connecting the dots for those two people? Okay. If there isn't a private enterprise, if there isn't private industry that's going to do that handshaking and that coordination, then the state legislature and the policymakers in the state via the people of Alaska can say, hey, create your own corporation, put some private sector people with some experience here in a corporation, tag them with a mission, just like AGDC of building a pipeline, tag them with a mission of creating low-cost energy and getting some business interests into the state of Alaska to capitalize on that low-cost energy and grow our economy. This is something that is working right now. It's a model that has been working for this natural gas pipeline. And I am not in the camp that says this pipeline is not going to happen. There are too many factors here, including national security, that are at stake, and this pipeline is going to get built.
Well, as I've been saying, I'm hopeful that it's going to happen. I'm not optimistic, but I am hopeful that it's going to happen. That's a whole different show. So tell me, Ben, why, of all the things you just lined out, why isn't the legislature talking about this? Why are we so stuck in squabbling over a few bucks here, a few bucks there, no vision? Why are we not talking about this as a future vision for Alaska?
You have employees, not entrepreneurs, in the legislature. I don't know how else. I mean, how do you simplify it any more than that? You have people that do not have risk-taking perspectives. They don't have visionary leadership. They don't think of it in those terms. They think of, what can the government do to take care of me? And
they're clock punchers instead of innovators, is what you're saying.
That's
essentially.
That's exactly it. Yeah. I mean, you just have the wrong people in the legislature to think in those terms. And why would those entrepreneurs who exist in limited fashion in Alaska go to the legislature? Because it isn't focused on entrepreneurial endeavors. It isn't. So why would they go there?
So again, this comes, I just said I'm tearing up the Charter of Changes. I mean, does this come back to, getting legislators that see that vision? And if that's the case, because again, over the last 10, 12 years, we've changed out 65, almost 70% of the legislature. I mean, we've still got those diehards in there, and they're holding all the reins of power. And again, they have no vision, because they're the ones that, the people that have been there for 40 years, 30, 25, 30, 40 years, they're the ones that brought us to this position where we're upside down with money. We're the private economy stagnated. The government has become all, and so we could change out the 70% again and still have the 20 or 30% that are still in power. What's the solution, Ben?
There is no solution other than participation. People have to care. It is no different. You look at it. Do you care about getting your education? Well, you can't rely on other people. You're going to have to put in the effort. Do you care about your job? You got to put in the effort. You got to care. If you're a business owner, the business doesn't grow itself. You got to care. You got to do something about it. We are the owners of the state. We, the people, are the owners of the state. And yet we seem to not care in large enough numbers to influence what's happening. And I point to a lot of people who come to Alaska, they enjoy themselves in the summertime, and then they head off in the wintertime and they don't care. What happens here in the wintertime is somebody else's business, because I'm not here. I'm not present.
Right.
So
right.
I'm not pointing the finger at snowbirds and saying you're the cause of the problem. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
it's indicative of the problem.
If we want to change, then we have to have new thinking, new vision, new people have to change their behavior and participate in the processes that we have created. And this is ties into what's happening within the Republican Party this weekend. You've got a event that's at the Soldotna Sports Complex. Show up at 2 p.m. and you can listen to the questions that are going to be asked of your candidates: Bronson, Hughes, DeVries, Halila. I got to move a little screen here for the others. Sorry, I goofed that up. Kroll and Walden. So you can come and listen to them. In March, you got a Republican Party convention here, and it's going to be going on in all the different districts of participating within the political sphere to make the party do what the people want it to do. How many independents are organized to get things done in the state of Alaska?
Well, we were just talking about this yesterday with the listeners. Like, I mean, what's it going to take to get people up off their rusty dusties to go do something? Because people are frustrated. And again, I think part of it's by design. They've been intentionally frustrated by the system so that they stop paying attention. Meanwhile, the other side, the progressive side, which is very communal and kumbaya, is very good at gathering together and holding the line. And we're just kind of throwing our hands up and saying, well, I did my part, but nothing happened, so now I'm done.
Yeah.
What's it going to take to get those people, back?
Honestly, we came out of World War I and didn't want to do that again. We wanted our peace dividend, and we didn't want to do. So then Europe started getting taken over by Germans, and the U.S. is like, hey, that's your problem, not ours. Short-sighted, because what happens if Europe goes the way of Nazi Germany? Is bad for us as well, right? It took Pearl Harbor for us to get off our duff and say, okay, I guess we're gonna have to get involved.
Yeah,
so I think that's just kind of part of American human nature. Is we're slow to react. We like our individualism.
Yeah, no, I think we like to be left alone for the most part. But Ben, you said it, I've said it. Alaskan people and businesses are dependent on federal dollars. This is Frank in the chat room. So the question when we get back is, who's going to vote to change that? If we've created a dependency state, and they've discovered they can vote themselves largesse or treasure out of the public treasury, why would they vote to change that? We'll ask Ben Carpenter that question when we get back. And we'll talk a little bit more about this candidate forum for the weekend. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
Tune in Friday for our weekend entertainment and movie streaming review with our guest critic, Willie Waffle. That's actually his real name. Really? That's his real name? Man, his parents must have hated him. The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, Ben Carpenter is our guest here. Follow-up point on that. David Boyle says people complain, yet they do very little, except for a few that are involved. Again, part of the problem as well. He said frustration leads to apathy and total non-involvement. I've testified in many legislative committees and at the ASD school board with little effect, but I will not stop. Our future depends on citizen involvement like our founding fathers and patriots. Are you one of them? Rick said, where was Rick's comment here? People just don't give a damn. Not watching. Look at the voting stats. And you're right. I mean, Ben, when we get a barely double-digit voter turnout, I mean, what does that say about what's going on? Either people are fat, dumb, and happy, and they just don't care. They're not paying attention. Or they've thrown their hands up in the air and figure, well, whatever I do doesn't matter anyway. And so which is, again, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here, but I keep coming back to the fact is that I don't know if we can save it. I mean, I just wonder if it's just got to hit the wall and come apart, and then we got to pick up the pieces. That's my fear at this point.
It seems like the likely outcome, just knowing human nature, American human nature at least, is we'll get around to it when it's bad enough.
Yeah. Well, again, what did Brian say earlier? He said, so Alaska is a junkie state because we're all junkies, and maybe that's the good analogy. Because, when does somebody who's a junkie or an addict of some kind, when do they turn their life around? Well, after they've hit rock bottom and lost everything. That's when they turn their life around. And maybe that's what it's going to take in this state, is that, we're just going to have to lose everything and then make it. And then
I have said for a number of years, you're going to have to choose. Do you want a PFD in a tax or no PFD in a tax? That is the direction the government is going. If we do not address a systemic structural change in the way we're doing financing in the state of Alaska, you're going to have government funded by your permanent fund, and you're going to have a tax. That is what the junkies want. More money. That's the solution. So you're either going to get together and figure out what an alternative to that is, and Republicans have no alternative. They've got no alternative that they're working towards. 100% accurate statement. Individual Republicans might have their own ideas, but there is no collective alternative to what we are doing. Okay. We've got to have that collective alternative.
Well, because avoidance is a strategy, right? That's where we're at right now. Avoidance as a we don't want to talk about taxes. We don't want to talk about, no, you're dead to me. You talked about taxes. You're dead to me. We're going to avoid it. We're going to avoid it right into taxes. We're going to right up to the point to where it's just going to slap us in the face like a dead fish. And that's where we're going to be. I mean, Kathy Giesel, go ahead.
We're lying to ourselves. You think that you can have a state government that is not supported by taxation? You think that is going to make your life better just because you don't pay taxes?
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally giving the socialists their utopia. Just give them a bunch of free money with the permanent fund, and we'll just put our head in the sand and not have to worry about government because it isn't on my back. But it isn't going to work that way. You're going to end up getting taxed.
Yeah. And Kathy Giesel said it the other day, basically where, every Alaska is going to contribute to state government, which is just a fancy way of saying now it's time for everybody to pay their fair share. That's what this head tax is about, this new education head tax and everything else. I mean, they're saying the quiet part out loud. Now it's time for you to pay your fair share.
So how do you get Alaskans in general to start caring about who they send to the legislature and the entrepreneurial spirit about creating opportunity that is latent, right? There's latent opportunity there. How do we capitalize on it is what I should say. How do we capitalize on it? It's got to be different thinking than what we have now. It's got to be. You can't think about use the thinking that got you into the problem to get you out of the problem. It's the wrong thinking.
Brian just made a good comment. He said, this is back to Kevin and my discussion on the news media and everything else. He says, looking at it another way, maybe the news media doesn't report on state financial issues because they don't get views. It's not what the consumers read. Maybe that's just not an interest that most people don't have. But again, how much of the stuff in the news media drives interest one way or the other?
News agencies have a mission, and they hire people to fulfill their mission.
Yeah. No, absolutely. All right, we're coming up on it here. We've got one more segment. So again, how do we get those people engaged? Sorry, my wife's dog's in here digging at the carpet. How do we get those people engaged? That's the question for Ben. We get back to it. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Public enema number one. Oh, wait, sorry. Public enemy number one, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke Show.
Yep, that's me. Pain in the, let's get back to it. We're continuing now with Ben Carpenter, former representative, now the host of Oversight Live, available over on YouTube. The question before we went to break was, Ben, we've got all this, we got all these things happening. We talked about the junkie, the dependency state, the addiction to that. People throwing their hands up in the air. What is it going to take to get people involved? What is it going to take to make that change happen in your mind?
It's going to take good communicators people of vision with a entrepreneurial spirit, an entrepreneurial vision, a vision of what's possible with the opportunities that exist within the state to be more involved in the decisions that are being made by policymakers or replacing those policymakers with those types of people. That is what's going to have to happen. You just don't have another alternative with the current thinkers in the legislature, and I would argue in the governor's mansion as well. We just have to replace. I know it seems like a broken record because we say it every time, right? But we have not been replacing people with the right people, and I would have to argue that there's too many people that are not participating, that are sticking their heads in the sand or what. I don't know what the right analogy is, but they just don't care. They don't see the need or don't see the return on what they're doing. And you're talking to a guy who volunteered to go serve in Iraq and Afghanistan, right? I'm willing to do the hard things. That not everybody is like that. Right. Not everybody wants to do the hard things. Their goal is to do the easy things in life. And that's thinking as well.
How much? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just recognize that it wasn't the entire population of the colonies that threw tea into the Boston Harbor. It was a small percentage of the people.
Yeah.
The shot that was heard around the world at Lexington and Concord, that was just a small amount of people that had it, right? So not everybody in the colonies was for separation from England and having independence, right? It was divided back then as to whether a country could stand on its own in America. But it did take people to recognize we can't continue the way we're going, and we're going to have to do something else. And those people had to get motivated and organized. And I'm saying in the modern day, you can't call yourself an independent and an entrepreneur independently and then just work by yourself. You have to get organized and work together towards a common goal. And that is difficult. Where are you going to do that? Where are you going to do it? If it's not a political party, you got to create some structure and organization to have that coordination.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of political parties, that was leading me to my next question, because how much of this is also due to the fact, not just the lack of leadership in the state through our elected officials, governors, legislators, et cetera, but how much of this people throwing their hands up in the air is due to the fact that we've had this poor leadership in the Republican Party? I mean, is there a change needed there? You've been watching this for a long time. I mean, we keep seeing these things happen. We keep seeing these legislators and both national and local, just kind of poo-pooing whatever the electorate or whatever the club wanted to do, whatever the party wanted to do, and they're off doing their own thing while reaping the benefits of wearing the party badge, but not fulfilling the needs of that. And that's, again, to me, goes right back to the leadership.
Yeah, one of the questions that I think the Republicans need to ask themselves is, when Republican leaders say, hey, we need to have unity, we say, unity of what? Unity is like half the sentence. You've got to have the rest of the sentence. Are you talking about unity of purpose? Because that's why you would be unified. You have to be unified over something. So if it's just that we're going to call ourselves Republicans and get Republicans elected, and that's what we're unifying over, well, then I have to say, what's the point? I don't know what it means for one Republican to get elected in one district and another in another district, and they don't work together to achieve anything. Like, why would I get together politically and organize with you if we're not going to get something done? I don't care to belong to a club that just says, I'm a Republican. There's a purpose. There's got to be unity of purpose. So what is it that the Republican Party or whatever party or organization is going to help restore this nation? What is it that you want to do? In the state of Alaska, it needs to be two things. Focus on this. Reduce the cost of electricity so that economic growth can happen, and reduce the cost of government. Reduce it. Yeah. Don't cut things out of the budget. Reduce the waste that you naturally occur over time. Okay. Do the same services, but do it cheaper. Do it in a different way. This is a entrepreneurial and a reform-minded mindset. Okay. Still have schools, but do it cheaper. Still have healthcare, but do it cheaper. Right. Where there's a will, there's a way. You just have to figure it out. This is what Elon Musk does and what the Doge effort was all about.
We're talking about leadership now, so let's finish up. This weekend, the District 8 is putting on a gubernatorial forum panel. That's happening up in Soldotna at the sports complex on Saturday. They've got 6, 7, 8 candidates that are confirmed to be coming down to talk about this, Ben. What's happening there?
You got 6 candidates. You got Dave Bronson, Edmund DeVries, Matt Halala, Shelley Hughes, Henry Cole, and Bruce Walden. And there's going to be 5 questions asked. And with the remaining time, members of the public will be able to ask questions. How do you plan to bring a grand jury back into its constitutional roots? What would you do to resolve the issues with our inflated voter rolls? How would you solve the negative impact trawlers are having to our statewide fishing industry? The governor's, what specific priorities would you establish to reform state government? And from your experience, or how do you have the experience to do that so we can trust you? And then what are your plans to bring our educational system back to the top 10% versus the basement? Those are the questions that are going to be posed to those candidates. You can come out and hear their answers. And then that will help you make a better informed decision for, at least for those candidates, as to whether you want to see them in the governor's mansion.
If Ben Carpenter was writing the questions, what would be the one question that you would ask every candidate there, Ben?
The government reform. The governor has significant authority to set statewide priorities for managers. That their commissioners and what their vision is for the state is highly influential in the direction of the state. What priorities would you establish to reform government?
And would you make it more because that's kind of an amorphous question. It's more of a bigger, 10,000 foot view question. I mean, we're facing a fiscal crisis. Would you be asking them about their overall budget view, or what we should be doing with a budget to make it work? Or what do you think?
I look at the budget and reform as 2 separate things. The budget is going to take care of itself. It is, unless you conduct reform, unless you spend time with your commissioners and going to each one of the departments and learning, understanding what's happening and asking the question, why are we doing it this way? Why? Ask why 5 or 6 times until you get to the root cause of why things are being done the way they are. And then you start to peel it back, come back out and say, okay, well, we don't need to do it this way. Look how many times somebody has to touch this piece of paper before it gets approved, right?
Yeah.
We don't need to do that. We can do something different that costs us less.
Ben Carpenter is our guest. He's the host of Oversight Live, which you can find on YouTube. He broadcasts every night at 7, going over the hot news of the day from the legislature from his perspective, and talking about the ramifications of that. You should go over there and get signed up. It's at youtube.com/@OversightLive if you want to participate there. I'm putting up a QR code in the corner of the screen for folks who are watching. You can snap that with your phone and it'll drop it to them. About a minute left here, Ben. Final thoughts for today.
Yeah, I think Oversight Live will take on that question of what's happening with the supplemental budget. I think we're gonna dive into that.
Gonna get into that today, huh?
Yeah, it is nonsense that we even. I don't know. The whole concept of a supplemental budget is supposed to be for emergencies, and we are not emergencies. It's like budget number 2. $500 million? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. That's a standalone budget in and of itself. And the fact that we're not talking about things that took place last year, we're now talking about forward funding it is, madness. Madness is the word that comes to mind for me. Ben Carpenter, thank you so much for coming on board and joining us. Tomorrow, folks, is Firearms Friday. I'm going to need it. Be kind. Love one another. Live well. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Yeah, Ben, final bite at the apple here. I can't even talk about this supplemental thing without my blood pressure just skyrocketing. I can't believe that these people are in good faith with straight faces looking at you and saying, well, this is what we absolutely need. And you could just see what it is. It's strong arming, right? It's arm twisting. We're not going to allow a single minority amendment to come in. We say it's only about this one thing, and yet we've Christmas treated up with 8 times that amount of spending. It's an abuse of the process. It's an abuse of the system.
Well, the legislature is 100% minority versus majority. And if you allow the minority to have an amendment during the process on the floor, then that shows that you failed somehow. So why would we allow that? It's a pride thing. It is. We're not going to allow the minority to fix our process. If it reached this far, then we don't want egg on our face. That's
right.
Really what it boils down to. It's not a system where you've got some supposed bipartisan people in the majority who are completely willing to work with the minority. You don't have that. That doesn't exist. They can say it does, but it does not exist. It is adversarial. 100%, especially in an election year.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. They don't want anybody to do it. And again, it's going to be their way or the highway. Or if you don't capitulate, then they're going to have the scapegoating to blame you for not voting for it. That's what it's going to come down to. That's what I feel like right now. All right. Well, Ben, thanks for coming on board and joining us. We appreciate it. Look forward. I'm going to have to tune in tonight now. I was going to go to bed early today, but I might have to tune in tonight to see where we're at on that. It'll be interesting. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate you being part of it.
Hey, we'll see you, Michael, next week.
All right. Thanks very much. Again, you can hit the cube here, right there. You see it's right next to it. Over there. There you go. Hit the cube if you want to subscribe to Ben's show on Oversight Live. All right. We're out of time for today, my friends. We got to go. Thanks for being part of it. The Michael Luke Show, Common Sense, Liberty-Based, Free Thinking Radio. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.